Welcome to the Into the Wilderness podcast. We're in line for another record month, Varn, for listeners.
Are we?
We're in line for it, so hopefully lots of people download this episode, and then we should beat our highest month.
Well, that would be pretty cool. So thank you, everybody who listens.
All our awesome listeners.
Absolutely. We are bringing exactly the show that we promised you 1 week ago, which was a podcast I recorded in Swedish Lapland on a rather exciting adventure.
1 week ago. It was 3 days ago we promised it.
Oh, yeah, we did. Sorry, yeah. We recorded it around a massive table in a very remote cabin in the middle of nowhere. And you're about to hear it, but it's basically everybody talking about their experience on this great adventure that we had the opportunity of being part of. You'll have to excuse the odd creaking and thumping.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of creaking and thumping. Yeah. I wasn't there, and I edit the show, and it's forgiven though, because you can understand it is authentic with the creaks and the
we
thuds.
Didn't have our normal fancy gear set up for the podcast, so we were just handing around a recording device around this really long table that we had just had dinner at, and everybody was talking into it. So that is the creaking of the floorboards and the creaking of the table, but it's not that bad actually. You soon forget that it's
once you start hearing people's stories and that, you forget you feel like you're there. That's what I think it sounds like.
And we do have some fantastic stories from lots of different people who were there, and a great story from one of our guides, Tommy, at the end, who is probably the only living person in Europe to hunt and kill a man-eating bear. So hang fire for that until the end of the show.
Right at the end. It's a really good story. I hadn't heard it before until I listened to the show back, so I enjoyed it. Everyone's interesting. The whole thing is interesting. So
we are at the end of the Game Fair season, I think, and we are already thinking about next year.
We are thinking about next year.
It's hard to believe that 2017 is not that far away.
We did our fair share this year of Game Fairs.
Yeah, we did. We did a good chunk of the Game Fairs this year. But the first one that we will be going to next year is the Northern Shooting Show, which we were at in 2016. It was great. We have the dates for you here, if you don't know. It is
Saturday the 6th, Sunday the 7th of May, 2017.
Absolutely. If you go log on or just Google the Northern Shooting Show now, you will be able to find their website, and you will also be able to book early tickets. It's an incredibly well-priced game fair.
Probably one of the best priced.
Yeah, it really is. I actually hadn't looked until now when I was just checking out for the show. 1 day for an adult, if you do the early bird, so book online, it's 10 quid. If you're there on the day, it's 13. Kids are 5 if you book now, and 7 on the day.
Yeah.
So
and it's pretty well placed in the country.
It's Great Yorkshire Showground.
In Harrogate, and even for the Scottish people like ourselves, it's not too much of a mission.
No, I was actually quite surprised. It wasn't that bad.
It's not that bad compared to some other shows right down south, and then basically me and Byron don't like travelling further south in the Lake District, so
mainly because of the traffic.
That's the only reason. Because
we always seem to hit an entire motorway that's closed when we head further south of the Lake District. Normally because we're heading at night, and that's when they do all the roadworks. But anyway, Northern Shooting Show, go check it out. We'll be giving you some more info on that and the people who are going to be there a little bit closer to the time, but we're certainly going to be there.
And we'll be doing stuff there.
Yes, we will. I'm not quite sure what yet.
We're not sure what yet, and we'll probably have some merchandise as well at some point.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be good. First one of the year.
Looking forward to it. I have before I give you a little bit of news and get into the podcast competition winner, which was for a pair of Surefire ear defenders.
Yep.
We asked you to post a picture underneath the pinned post, and you did it. And we had one that really stood out, which was what, Daryl?
It was a picture. I can't remember the gentleman's name.
I've got it written down.
Yeah.
It's Mark Mitchell.
Mark Mitchell. So Mark Mitchell put a picture of him walking across a river bank, and he was kind of crossing shell a bit, and he's got his baby strapped to his back crossing it. So
we thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Mark Mitchell, as always, 4 weeks. Give us a message somehow, either through our website, thepacebrothers.com, or anywhere on the social media, and we will get your Surefire ear defenders sent out to you.
Yep.
One thing of news which came up just in the last 7 days or so, which some of you might have seen, it was bouncing around Facebook, but equally you might have missed it, is that Romania has just closed all the hunting for large carnivores. What they say that they're going to do is that there will no longer be hunting by the hunting organizations and the different sort of concessions that they've got, and instead that they will tackle each individual animal that actually causes a problem either to livestock or human, and decide what they're going to do with that animal, and that'll be done at a sort of state level. They'll either kill it or they're actually talking about tranquilizing it and translocating it to other countries. So this is a pretty big deal because for a lot of years now, certainly for the last 10 years, the quotas for hunting species such as bear and lynx have been slowly increasing because there's been greater and greater populations and availability to hunt. And now all of a sudden, just like that, the whole thing's been shut down. So I'm sure that we will be able to speak to somebody who knows more about it and can flesh out a little bit of the consequences of that. So we're going to try and find out somebody.
If you are connected in any way with Romania and you know about the hunting, get in contact.
Yeah, we will. And we'll try and bring you a little bit more in some future shows on it.
Mm-hmm. There was some other news. I can't remember what it was now. Oh, yeah. Parliamentary debate about driven grouse shooting. The ban on driven grouse shooting it is on Parliament TV. So if you Google Parliament TV, it comes up and then there's a tab and you can look what you're looking for, and it's called driven grouse shooting. I watched probably the first 20 minutes of it, and it's an hour long. I still need to finish watching it. The first 20 minutes so far is Mark Avery and the gentleman from the RSPB, and they're being questioned about why they think it should be banned, and heather burning, and
that comes up, and what measures they'd put in place if it wasn't banned.
But that's as far as I've got right now. I've got to the point where they're talking about heather burning, and basically Mark Avery says that Armageddon will happen if we don't ban driven grouse shooting.
We'll see what happens with this debate. It still needs to play out. Certainly the responses I've seen on social media since, and I haven't had the time to watch the whole thing, but we will be speaking to Andrew Gilruth from the GWCT, probably the next podcast. So he's going to be exactly the man to comment on this debate. So it's quite good, actually, that he's going to be coming on after the televised debate has taken place. So we'll be bringing you full comment on that at that point. But it seems that they certainly Mark Avery didn't come out all that well from it because he didn't seem to have a lot of evidence to back up what he was saying. But we won't say any more on that. There's going to be a load more on it in probably 2 weeks' time.
Plenty coming on.
And I think that's it for the pre-part of the podcast.
Yeah.
This podcast is supported by the Scottish Association for Country Sports. As always, we're going to have a prize on this podcast, but you have to listen to the end, as always. And we'll tell you what it is and how you enter.
Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Into the Wilderness podcast. We are bringing you this from Swedish Lapland this week. After quite an incredible experience with probably more people in this room than we've ever had on a podcast before, to start off and explain exactly what we are doing north of the Arctic Circle, I'm going to start with Mr. Simon Barr, who is responsible for bringing all these people to this rather magnificent place. Simon, could you just explain what this event was about and why on earth you brought us here?
So, I happen to work with a number of manufacturers that make products that are capable of dealing with extremes. So we thought we would take those products to an environment where it was very extreme and ask some of the world's preeminent journalists to come along and be part of an adventure which would test them to the edge. And we've taken clothing, optics, firearms and ammunition and tested them all to the edge in a very amazing Arctic wilderness. We started off with a day's familiarization with the Arctic, understanding what we were going to do, playing with the guns, getting them zeroed, getting ready, understanding how the clothing was going to look after us. And then we headed off on foot with no food, no tent, nothing, no sleeping bags, literally just the clothing that we stood up in, and marched as far as we could, set camp, and then we had to hunt. If we wanted to eat, we had to hunt. So couldn't think of any better way to test ourselves and the equipment in that situation.
And that is where we all set off into the first night, which was freezing cold.
It was very cold on the first night.
Conrad, if I can just pass on to you, what was important to make sure that we were all safe and ready for the first night? Because we had to set up camp and we had to be prepared for any elements that were there. So what did you make sure that everybody had prepared before darkness fell, basically, on that first night?
Well, I was involved from the very early planning stages, and in concert with Davey and Steve and Simon, made sure that the clothing we had was appropriate and was going to fit the bill. And then when we arrived at camp, the priorities we needed to really focus on was protection from the elements and getting a good fire going. So that was really what I was making sure, that people had appropriate shelters that were going to see them through that first night. They were not perfect, but it was going to get us through the first night, and then we would focus on the second day with a small work party to improve things, so the second night would be more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And what did the basic form that the shelters take look like?
We built one lean-to, which had 5 people in it, and then the other 2 groups of 3 were in sort of tree pit shelters in the base of spruces, which were shorn up and bolstered with leafy boughs from other trees that we managed to chop down.
We were there with nothing more than the clothes that we were wearing and the rifles that we had brought. We didn't bring any kind of shelter. We didn't bring any food. What were a couple of essentials of survival if you find yourself in that situation? You've literally just got the kit that you had with you to hunt, which was what we had when we arrived.
Well, the priorities of survival don't change, and that is protection from the elements and looking after your basic life-saving needs. So making sure that nobody's injured and that no one's going to die of any injuries or wounds. And making sure that they are out of the wind and the wet. And as long as they're out of the wind and the wet, even just sitting in the lee of a tree is going to be a pretty successful shelter for them.
Now you've got some pretty set rules in terms of what you need for survival. The rules of 3, I think you called it before.
Yeah,
talk us through that.
I mean, the real basics is the rule of 3, and it's sort of accepted by everyone universally that we can survive for 3 minutes without oxygen, for 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Which contextualises the fact that, the 3 minutes without oxygen refers to the medical aspects, the fact that we've got oxygen circulating around our body. The 3 hours without shelter begins with what we're wearing as far as clothing. Certainly in this environment, if we were standing around naked, within 3 hours, we're certainly going to start succumbing to the cold and beginning to get hypothermia. So that's really the key priority. The fact that we can do 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food, we should be looking to get ourselves either recovered or rescued long before that, or our plan should be that people are going to be coming to find us within that 72 hours.
Great. Let's pass on, speak to Nick. What did you think to yourself when we all arrived here at an airport in Sweden, not really knowing what the hell was going to happen? What was going through your mind when you first found out what the plan was?
Well, I wasn't sure what we're going to have for dinner, so we were planning to hunt birds and moose, and I thought moose hunting was the most exhausting and most unpractical part of it, because I've never been moose hunting before, never been to Swedish Lapland before. Unfortunately, we didn't got any birds, but let's see tomorrow. But we got 2 moose, and that fed us all through the days that we went in camp. And yeah, I thought that would be a hard trip, and but I thought that would be much colder staying overnight than setting up shelter and everything. But for me, the hardest part was the walking there.
And tell me about, because you got a moose, you were the first person to bring meat to the camp.
Yeah,
you saved us from starvation.
Yeah. Actually, I was just the guy shooting. Without our guides, that wouldn't be possible. Yeah, we just went there in the morning, and at 9 o'clock we went down the river to a small creek on a boat, and then went to land on a high seat, and we called for Bull. Bull didn't show up, but the cow and the calf showed up, and they were obviously lying there in the grass. And yeah, they were running quite fast, and I tried to get them. The first shots didn't hit, but the last one did, and so we got the calf, and I was really lucky to get it, because I was hungry like everyone else, and so I was very proud of getting that and get you all a warm meal that day and today.
Davey, if we just go on to you, we're wearing all of your kit. It would be interesting just to know if we just start maybe a little bit further back with you and just talk about how Swazi started and to where we are today in a sort of truncated version to wearing your stuff for this expedition.
Really truncated version. We started about 23 years ago. My background was I was a professional trapper, so I'd spend most of my time in the mountains, sort of, 3-4 months on my own trapping. So the skin market crashed, and about the only thing I was left an expert at was getting wet and getting cold. And I thought, well, hell, maybe I can start a company that keeps people dry and keeps them warm. And that's pretty much what Swazi's been about, over the years, is just keeping people comfortable. I think, we all get tied up with, staying totally dry or staying fully warm. And this last few days, I think, has brought home some realities to people that, even though you can be cold, you can be comfortable. Even though you can be dry, you can be comfortable, and even though you're wet, you can also be comfortable. It's just a matter of degree. Wearing good gear, yeah, that's a key part of surviving in the outdoors. For me, the biggest thing about the weekend was just the team dynamics, the way that people pitched in and did things, and that was a real surprise for me, just how well as a group we performed to do all of the things that we did, from providing shelter, getting firewood, and then going out and shooting a moose to provide food for the team. Everyone pitched in, and it was a real pleasure to be involved with every single person on this expedition.
Jeff, you and I have been hunting a bit this last couple of days for birds, for capercaillie, but just cast your mind back to the first, I wasn't with you that day, but when you came back into camp, you realized that you actually had something to eat after going well more than a day without having any food, having hiked already 12, 13 Ks out, whatever it was. What was it like when you heard those shots and you realized, hey, I'm going to be eating tonight?
Joyous. Pure glory. I was hopping around the camp like a madman saying, is that 1 shots or 5? I think it's 5. I think there might be 5 moose down.
I wish. Yeah.
And then the anticipation starts. You're waiting. It was radio roulette. I heard it, and then when I heard that it could be a calf, it was just like I'd hit that number 6 lotto ball.
You were in need of food by that point.
We were anemic, inebriated, just kidding, but anemic, and in need of food, and it was a glorious moment, yes. But
I mean, just explain, in the sort of modern world that we live in, very few people actually go more than a standard day without at least having one meal. And we were doing a lot of work. I mean, we were hunting hard. We were bloody cold the first night, despite having a fire and everything else. The temperature was pretty low, and we were getting up, stoking up fires, and it really takes its toll on your body. Just explain what it feels like not to actually be able to take in any sustenance. And even today, we'd had a bit of meat yesterday, but we were hunting today, and the body felt a bit drained. I mean, how did you feel?
Well, I'll challenge any American to go at least one day without hitting the KFC drive-thru. It's very tough to do, and when you do that, and when your body's used to that stuff, you feel pretty good. But you take one day off, one day from any food at all, and I'm telling you, you feel like a skeleton. You can't do anything. Just even to hunt at the end of the day is a big feat. You're climbing mountains. You're out of energy, so it's very difficult. So to get a calf moose down, my friend, I mean, it saved the group. But then you got to talk about the capercaillie that have eluded us.
How's that hunting experience been for you?
How's it been?
I know we haven't got anything yet, but I mean, we've come close.
I came here for one thing, that was Coors Light or capercaillie, and we're all out of Coors Light. Tomorrow, we're killing the capercaillie.
Neil, if we just come over to you, how's the experience been for you so far before we maybe talk about ammunition a little bit?
Great experience. Just from the standpoint of going with no food, going on a long hike and carrying a fair amount of weight, all of the above, and then not eating for at least half of the next day. And surviving it okay. I mean, yeah, you have hunger pains, but we were all able to function. Yeah, it was tough, but it didn't stop us from doing what we needed to do, getting out there, getting our camp set up, cutting firewood. It's a feeling of accomplishment so far.
And just, you're here from Hornady.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk us through the importance of choosing the right ammunition for the animals that you're hunting. We've got a large spectrum. We're hunting capercaillie on the one hand and moose on the other. It requires very different ammunition to be able to tackle both those species ethically.
Yeah, we brought 2 different types of ammunition mainly, trying to be appropriate for the game. For the capercaillie in particular, we brought 150 grain FMJ ammunition in the 308. We had 308 and 300 Winchester as our main calibers, so we wanted to cause as little damage but still kill humanely with the birds. So the FMJ is the best choice there. But on the moose, it's a much different deal. We of course want to kill the animal humanely, but to do so that means we need a bullet that's constructed to basically provide the most lethality that we can. We want a bullet that's going to open up quickly. We want a bullet that's going to penetrate, and we want a bullet that's accurate. So those are kind of the 3 main things that we need there. We need to be able to hit the target. And a moose, especially a moose, if it's not too far away, accuracy is not as important in that particular sense. You don't need pinpoint precision, but you definitely need something that's going to handle, penetrating far enough, penetrating possibly through shoulder bone, if that's the shot that you end up with. Or if you make a bad shot on the first one and you have to do follow-up shots, you need something that's going to reach the vitals. So you need it to reach, but more than just to reach, you need a bullet that's going to expand and cause damage and not just fire right through the animal. So that's where the Spire Point bullet, the 180 grain Spire Point, which we had in the 300 Win Mag, we also had some 308 Win ammo with us, but the 300s are what we used. They perform very well from everything that I've seen, and it's in our Custom International line of ammunition, which it's a tried and true bullet. A lot of proven history with it, and it worked out very well.
Awesome. And now to the only girl in the group. How on earth did you manage to put up with so many guys for so many days?
Well, it smelled pretty bad, but
I think that's fair.
Yeah, being the only girl in my family, I'm pretty used to it, and because it was a team environment, everyone helped out. I don't think I was paid any special attention or anyone sort of did anything for me because I was a female. Everyone just sort of, got together and tried to get food, tried to make shelter, and really just pitch in as a team.
How did you find the no eating until we killed thing? I mean, it might not have happened on the second day. It could have been the third. What was your sort of mindset for that?
The no eating surprised me because I thought I would have been really struggling the first day, but I honestly struggled mostly with the cold at night. Mm-hmm. You just couldn't even think about anything else. When I woke up, I didn't even really want to eat. I just focused on getting warm. When we got food, that was amazing. And you got pretty used to eating a lot of moose cooked different ways.
What was that first night like? Because it was a lot colder than the second night. I mean, how often were you waking up?
I was awake the whole night.
Just waking up?
Awake the whole night between being cold, listening to snoring, listening to farting, listening to Germans talking.
You mean you could hear... You could hear Simon snoring all the way from your camp?
Pretty much.
That's good. I mean, how does this rank in terms of experiences for you?
This is awesome. I mean, it's good to, the hunting and the shelter and everything, like, it's not too extreme, but when you take away elements like food, sleeping bags, all those kind of things, then it starts to really be it does change the game, and it becomes more about survival than anything, because you can sleep in a sleeping bag under a fly and be fine, but as soon as you take away the sleeping bag, the fly, and you have to create your own shelter and your own warmth, it's just a whole new game.
And how satisfying was it being part of bringing that first lot of meat back to camp?
Oh, it was amazing. Just doing that, building the shelter, cooking the meat, bringing back the meat, just everything was awesome.
That's so cool. And now, to my friend, I was with you to share one of the most incredible experiences of my life, and I wasn't even pulling the trigger.
No.
We went out, Simon was with us, Tommy was with us, Tommy was guiding us, we were calling moose all day. And almost in the final hour, just magic happened. Just talk me through that.
Yeah.
And I've got it on film so everybody knows that you have no idea what happened 5 minutes after that.
No, I
watched the video, but just
talk me through it.
Talk me through it.
I was pretty shocked. Yeah, as you said, we've been walking since 7 o'clock in the morning. At that time, we hadn't had anything to eat for 24 hours. And basically, I've done my share of extreme things with in the outdoors and a lot of hunting, but I've never been putting these two things together. So I think it was pretty intense to be going out for a whole day of hunting without food and without bringing any food. So that was the first thing that put a pressure on, I guess. And we were just walking through the most amazing countryside there, and small lakes, small swamps, trees, on the mountains on the side, the sun coming up, and we were sometimes stopping, calling, and walking and calling, and just doing that for the first couple of hours. Didn't see a lot of moose activity, but we saw a lot of tracks and coming this way and the other way, but we didn't see any moose. And then we started to head around the mountain up here, going up to a plateau up there that Tommy knows, and we went again through the most dreamlike trees and stuff like that. We actually saw an active bear den.
Incredible, wasn't it?
On the way up there, yeah, pretty much backed up from that. And then we walked to the mountain. We walked on a trail that has been used by the Sami people for hundreds of years, and it's it's still a track, and you can also see that the animals use it, because we saw huge moose tracks in there, and you just got a feeling that was activity in the area. And then we got on top to the top there, and just this amazing place opened up with yellow grass everywhere and a creek in the middle, and we took a quick stop where we just sat and had a sleep, and Tommy was calling, and we were looking, glassing and everything, and from there on we went. I think we took 2 stops, calling, and then reaching, I think it would have been the farthest point of our hunt that day. From there on we would be going home. We sat and called. After a couple of minutes, Tommy said, "Let's go." I got up, Tommy got up. You guys were still sitting in the back. And suddenly Tommy says, "There!" And I just swing around, see this huge moose bull just standing in front of us, looking directly at us at 50, 60 meters. And I just kneeled down on one knee, took the rifle up and looked to Tommy and said, "Can I shoot?" "Shoot." And he said, "Shoot." And then I make the first shot, and the moose actually didn't react very much. He turned, but he didn't make a big reaction to the shot. And then he turned around, put the other side on it, and I got a good long shot on that. And then I think I fired 2 more times, and then he kind of went down. And from there on, I was just,
the look on your face was amazing.
Yeah, all this shooting was instinctive. I wasn't thinking. I was thinking about the first shot, because I needed that to be a good one, and I needed to know that it was the right animal and everything. But from there on, it was just boom, boom, getting it down.
And how did you feel when that bull hit the dirt?
I had you to tell me what actually happened.
You're pretty emotional, as we all were. At that point, that was almost 2 days that we hadn't had any food.
Exactly, and that the whole environment, and that fact that we didn't have food, and the fact that I was actually being put in a situation where I didn't know what I'm going to do and when I will get any food, Also being with gear that I do not know. And normally I pack my own gear and I have a specific list of things I like to take. And this time I was put there with stuff that I trusted would work for me, but I didn't actually know it. So the whole thing around the hunting situation was, I mean, crazy. The setting was amazing. The sun was shining. The landscape, the mountains, the snow, everything was, I don't think anything will ever top that, actually. It will be hard.
It's awesome. And now to one of our German friends who was talking all night, apparently. How's this experience been for you, and how does it compare to other hunts that you've done? Because this isn't just a hunt, this is far more than that.
No, it's far more than a hunt. I'm a lot of outside in Germany also for hunting, for fishing, and also for being to camping with the kids or for my own, a little bit survival, but it's nothing compared to this what we experienced here, because it was as the invitation came and Simon wrote, please bring only a pair of shoes, a pair of boots, a flashlight and a toothbrush. I said, okay, that's mine, because I love the surprise, I love the adventure. And then, okay, it was okay. We know suddenly where we're going to Stockholm, then to Luleå, and then we crossed the polar circle. I said, okay, it's getting cold, because I was standing there in the night where we took the photos only with this flying west. It was freezing like hell, and then then in the camp it was very okay. It was back to the basics, back to the roots. I loved it very much. If you're getting cold, the first night was incredibly cold, as the other guys told. You can also solve the situation with talking to each other. Sorry, taken in the German camp and the German shelter. We were talking a lot. Or to chop wood.
The German dugout.
Yeah, or to chop wood in the middle of the night.
We heard the bloody chopping of the wood in the middle of the night. It kept us up.
And, that was really funny, and it was a good experience. And with all the stuff, it was the people were amazing. It was a team game, really, and everyone helped everybody. And I can say that because I came here with the ill. I got a cold and coughing, and so here I got infection in the eye.
Yeah, you suffered a lot.
Suffered a lot, and but it's the experience you make to make the best of it. It's easy to call emergency and fly out, but the other side is, for me, it's a game to say, okay, how long can I take part in this party and be part of this party and stay through all this coldness, this stress and so on. And that was really, at the end of the day, it was really tested to the edge.
And how was the hunger aspect for you? Everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah, at the first day, it wasn't so ugly to me and so hard. Even if I eat a lot, usually, you see it. But then on the second day, as Nick shot the first moose calf, it was really nice. I loved it, and I celebrated it to stick the moose meat on the stick and barbecue it in the fire.
Better than any restaurant.
Better than any steakhouse. Yeah, really, it was a nice trip, nice experience, and
I'll never forget it.
I will never forget it. No.
Fantastic. Simon, if I just come back to you before we go to the legend that is Tommy, just to kind of wrap up this experience, we're on our last night here. We've just stood outside and watched the Northern Lights, which are...
For the second time.
For the second time, which is something that it's almost impossible to explain unless you've seen it. But yeah, if you just want to kind of sum up this incredible experience.
Well, I mean, really, it's for me to say thank you to a number of people, and I think it's important. Firstly, thank you to all of the journalists that have taken part in this, because they were just sent an invitation and they didn't know where they were going. They just knew they had to meet us at Stockholm Airport on a certain date. They knew nothing else. I've got to say thank you to Comrade, because he and I have been working for over 6 months to put the whole plan together to make it happen. I've got to thank Tommy, who, without his extreme experience and understanding and buying into our vision, the whole thing wouldn't be possible. But, driving all of this are the manufacturing partners that bought the vision that I sold them as an idea and as a concept. Hornady, who provided the ammunition, Leica, who provided the optics. We used the Magnus rifle scope and the Geovid binoculars. Mauser, who provided 6 M12 Extreme rifles, and of course Swazi, who clothed us and kept us safe, dry, and warm, nearly warm most of the time. But it's fantastic to see manufacturers buying in and seeing opportunities to do things that are progressive like this. For all of us to go and create stories and tell other people about how wonderful it is to go into the wilderness with very little and hunt in this way. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So, it's been a hugely rewarding experience. I'm very, very happy with how it's gone. No one died, which is a massive bonus. So, we did have a contingency for that though, which would have been leave them for the bears. But no, it has been really, really positive. So, I'm going to have a little round of applause for everybody.
And I think a big thank you to Simon, who was obviously the man who invited us here.
Thank you, Brian. But one partner I forgot to mention then, but that is vitally important. The Swedish Lapland Tourist Board bought into this concept as well, and they have been a partner. We didn't disclose the partner to begin with because it would have disclosed the location of where we were going, but they have been instrumental in allowing us to come here. They've bought into the idea of hunting tourism and what that brings to an area and how positive that is. And I hope through how we propagate our stories through media around the world, that can encourage more people to come to this area, this beautiful area, hunt and bring income to the area. It provides jobs, it provides a whole lot of good stuff, hotels, gun shops and so on, and that's a really positive thing. So I think it's Swedish Lapland Tourist Board at the forefront in Europe for tourist boards on promoting hunting as a way of driving economies. I'm very, very grateful to them. I think they deserve a massive thanks for doing that. So I'm going to send them a big letter of thanks at the end of this.
Absolutely, and it's been a quite exceptional location to do just to be in, never mind have the great opportunity to hunt. Tommy, we're going to come to you as the last person to speak, and maybe we could just start with telling a little bit about who you are. I would be interested to know how you got into this game. What was your early life like before we sort of talk about the place that we're in and the great place it is to hunt? So tell me how you first started hunting, because I actually don't know.
Yeah, we started up pretty early when we was really young guys. We saw the McKayans, the Seb McCartney stuff, and we wanted to be trappers. So me and my friends, I have a memory that we were sitting up in a tree a whole day, me and my friend, only by the knowledge that nobody is seeing us up in the tree there, and we started to hunt muskrats and stuff like that, and it was maybe 10 years old or something like that. So I have hunted and fishing pretty much my whole life up here in Swedish Lapland, and it's a lifestyle.
When did you start professionally hunting, taking people out?
Yeah, I entered a guide school on the border river to Finland back in 1995, and me and a friend there, we started up our company Nordguide. Is it 21 years ago now? So
a long time.
Yeah, so it's pretty much what I have done since then.
And what for those people who don't know Sweden and don't know Swedish Lapland, what type of hunting do you do? Or what animals do you hunt, and what type of hunting is it?
For me, it's have always been a challenge. I set the goal. If I want to, we started up with the game birds, the hazel hens, the capercaillies, and everything, and you want to do your thing and learn as much as possible about every game. So we climbed the ladder. We had lots of animals up here in the north, and it's a great challenge, I think, to hunt up here in Swedish Lapland, because the animals is quite elusive, so it takes time to learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And just talk me through, because we talked a little bit earlier about the moose hunting experience that we've had on this particular trip, but just talk me through the sort of the yearly cycle of the moose and calling them during the rut, because it's I mean we call stags or we call roe during our rut back in the UK, but it's a very, very different thing here in Swedish Lapland calling.
Yeah, it is, and it's a little bit special. Swedish Lapland is quite a big area, so we need to keep track where the rut kick in and everything. And during this event, we have been to our most exclusive area, and we have kept track. We keep contact with the Sami people and listen if we hunt actually for mountain moose that lives in the national parks during the summer and fall, and we concentrate the hunt during the rut around the delta countries where the cow and the calves have their natural habitat, and during rut they enter, so it's a little bit of a game always, because the weather changes and the snow affects everything. So we knew that we're going to be spot on during this event, so it's really nice.
And just I mean, the place that we've been at is just absolutely stunning, but it's particularly special to have the opportunity to hunt here. Maybe you could just elaborate a little bit about why this location is so special to hunt.
Yeah. I had always have a dream to hunt here. We have the biggest moose, the most spectacular environment and everything. So I have struggled for maybe 20 years because it's not legal to hunt on the governmental land up here in the mountains. So it's a very few areas that are privately owned. So we build up a relationship here. We have been in the area, and actually we did a hunt back in 2014 with a couple of guys from Switzerland. That one guy wanted a bull and a capercaillie, and the other one wanted a brown bear and a black grouse. And I told him that the bear is quite difficult, and we can't really promise that you can get one, maybe 20-30%. And he's a really humble guy, and we started up discussing, and he realized that it's going to take lots of effort to get the bear. And he understand everything, so we arranged that, and it went pretty well. We didn't get the black grouse, but anyway, they were pretty happy. And I told him about this place because Vidar, one of my guide and close friends, have been a lot up in this area. So I wanted to show this guy the capercaillie hunt here, and I told him that there are a moose area, but it's almost impossible to get licenses here. So he asked me, can't you try? Give it a try. So I took my whole family up here in the spring. We went up here with the snowmobile, took a meeting with the landowner, and we had barbecue and discussion. And I went with a man to the cabin, and we started to discuss, and we shook hands, and that was the deal. I got to buy 2 bull licenses back in 2015. So that was actually the first time we even get licenses up here. So we went up here and had an amazing hunt. Both of the guys got their bulls, and early in the summer of 2016 Simon contacted me and briefed me about the castaway they did back in Scotland, and he had big plans to do something even more amazing, and that because he have great visions, this man, and we went up to our second best area close to the Finnish border. We had a really great time, and we briefed. Conrad was with us, and we started to plan. Simon knew that I had a cancellation on these 2 exclusive bulls, and he popped the idea, can't we go up there? I had not even thought about it, and we started to discuss the concept, and it's so extremely difficult to hunt up here, and I started to think if it's possible to get this elusive bull up here, and Simon came up with that, can't we add a calf to that also? And I said, well, we can try, and it has been a great challenge to me also to bring this group up here, and
you've done a great job, Tommy.
Yeah.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and kept us safe.
Yeah, and
your guides.
Yeah.
Done a fantastic job.
Thank you to both of your guys.
Dan and Vida have done a fantastic job.
I want to ask you about. I want to ask you something particular about bear hunting. You got a very interesting story, but just before we do that, we got a lot of people who listen to this podcast who don't necessarily hunt from day to day or even fish, but they're just intrigued about the countryside, and the idea of killing a bear, maybe more than other animals, may seem a bit strange. You know, why would you want to kill a bear, and aren't they an endangered animal, a bit like the perception with lions, for example? So maybe you could just explain just how carefully bear hunting is restricted, and how that works with certain numbers of bears in certain areas and the population in Sweden.
It's a little bit special. Bear hunting in Sweden is quite unique because between the 1800 and 1900 centuries it was almost vanished because of the predator hate. So
that was killing bears because they were predating on cattle and sheep, not for recreational hunting.
No. It was just humans who wanted to get rid of a threat. So in my mind, I think we have the world's most elusive population of bears. That the mitochondria DNA climbs from those 130 individuals back in mid 1800th century. So that's make bear hunting in Sweden a great challenge, and the population is still growing. So we have a strong population, and today we have something around 3,500 bears or something like that. So.
And it's very carefully regulated.
Yeah. The government keep track on everything and try to develop the population and collect shit to take DNA tests, and they tried a little bit different methods to keep track on the population. And we can't talk long about this, but recently we have closed a study with the Sami people that we have marked bears and we have marked female reindeers to evaluate. The number of calves the bear takes, and the conclusion has been that 20% of all the reindeer calves in the early summer is taken by bears.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
20% predation.
Yeah. So the bear hunting, when I started back, I don't know really which year I started to try to hunt bears. Me and Dan and Vidar also, we have hunted a lot of bears, and as hunters we are learning all the time. So it's a great crew to have around, because me and my guides always strive to find effective methods and things like that. But something that I don't like about the bear hunting in Sweden at the moment, it's a little bit of a macho factor. People go over limits and they really try, and it's like a competition. It's a little bit too macho at the moment.
So less about the animals.
Less about the animals, and everybody want to be so effective as possible, and they fight and they want that bear track so hard. So I got a little bit bored about that, so I stopped hunting bears privately back in 2010. One reason what I got my first kid, a beautiful daughter named Iris, and I thought, why should daddy go and challenge bear in the bush.
I was amazed when we were out hunting moose the other day. We came across a possible bear den, and the amount of respect that you showed the potential bear that was in there, I found quite humbling, because I've never seen a bear myself, and I have respect for all animals, but I could see by the look on your face when there was a potential there could be a bear in that den, the way we backed away. Why is it so important to show that respect? I mean, a lot of people won't really realize the consequences of maybe bumping into a bear at this time.
Yeah, there are a few dangerous situations with bears. It's if you come between the mother and the cubs, if you disturb them in the den, and if you shoot at them, and of course if you push them hard with dogs. So that a couple of situations you should avoid with bears, but otherwise they are friendly animals and you hardly see them.
Very secretive.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just finish up on you recounting killing a man-eating bear.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're the only person in Europe. Simon and I were discussing this the other day with you. But
yeah.
If you're not the only person, you're certainly one of very few people in Europe who have killed a man eating anything. And you got called upon to kill a man-eating bear not that long ago. I mean, just talk us through that phone call and then what happened.
Yeah, I'm probably going to start saying that even if it in that occasion was a bear that ate a man, it's probably, I don't think it's anything wrong with that bear because it was shot at. Okay. So back in 2004, I was actually the only one up in Swedish Lapland that had an educated dog. I had got a license to track wounded bears, so the police had my name and number. So it was a situation that a local hunting team was hunting in a vast area up here in the Jokkmokk area, and one of the moose hunters didn't came home after the hunt then. And the friends called the police, and they came with a tracking dog. They found the car and started tracking him the next morning, and came up, and they realized that it must have been a bear that had killed him and put him under a spruce. So when the police officer and the friend found the body, they called out in the radio for the helicopter that also was out searching for the missing moose hunter. And the helicopter approached the area, and from the air they saw the bear was still alive and guarding the body. So they told the guys to back out from there. It was a bear laying there. But the situation was quite crazy because the fuel went off. They needed to refuel the helicopter. They had not enough fuel to go down and pick up the officer and the hunter's friend. So they actually had to stay there and make a big bonfire. And the police officer had a 9mm Sig Sauer or something. So they didn't feel very safe in that situation. So they got out the two guys from the ground. And the next day they called me because I was on the list there. I took a friend as a backup shooter. It was so foggy that morning, so we couldn't fly into the area, so we needed to walk in. We got they put out the position on a map, and I had an old no, he was young at that moment, East Siberian Laika that I trusted really much. So he started to pull the string in the leash, and I saw on the dog that he felt something. So I released the dog, and he directly found the bear and started to bark. And it was quite exciting and a little bit scary to go in there, just psychologically to know that the bear had killed one.
Yeah.
Earlier, so we went in there, and we had bad winds, and the wind was twisting all the time, so we came in quite close, and the bear was really aggressive and throw things at the dog and stuff like that. and suddenly the wind changed. The bear got wind from us, and the dog came to me. And you don't want the dog to let the prey, especially a prey like a bear, because then you don't know where it is. So I told the dog to go back, and he did. And the bear had moved maybe 200 meters, so we circled around in wind, and after a while I saw the dog, and the dog saw me and was really happy that he was able to hunt. And he did a little bit attack to the bear, and the bear attacked him back. I saw the head, and the dog looked at me and wondered why I didn't shoot. So he went back there and backed away 10 meters. And then I got the full profile, so I could fire, and I think it hit high in the lungs, touched the spine, because the bear hit the ground and threw things 10-20 meters up in the air. It was just like exploding. And we heard the sound when the lungs collapsed. So it felt pretty tense at the moment. And my friend was quite new in the game, so he wanted me to shoot some more, and I did. So it went well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool story to end on, and I thank you, as Simon did, for guiding us and your two guides throughout this last couple of days. It's been a tremendous experience, tremendous place, and I think we've all learned a lot, and it's something we'll never forget.
It has been a pleasure to show you our neck of woods.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much for listening to this week's show. We have a prize we promised you. Now, what is it?
We do. It is a Solar Wrap Mini made by Bushnell. It's the Bear Grylls branded version of it. We were trying before the podcast. We were trying to decide how we could describe how big it was, and the best we could come up with was it's like two of the old Kodak film tubs that
the black ones.
Yeah, the black ones that your film used to
on
come
top
in.
of each other, and it's that size.
It's basically exactly that size. So it's pretty small.
I think I was on the edge of. I could remember it, and I'm 25.
Yeah, so
anyone that's younger than me might not remember it.
But basically, if you clench your fist, it doesn't quite fit inside your fist, but it's not far off.
Let's put it this way: you could put it in a pocket and you'd forget about it
very easily.
Yeah.
Essentially, what it is it's a small tube which you can charge up via a USB, which takes about 4 hours to charge up. And that is a power bank, but you can top the power bank up with the solar panel unit, which is
wrapped round.
It is, yeah. It's like a material. It's pretty.
And you pull.
Cool,
it's quite a large solar panel. You pull it out, and you can keep topping up the power bank while you're using it.
Exactly. Now, according to I've literally just taken out its packet now, so that I could tell you what it's like. So I haven't had a chance to use it myself, but according to the box, it will charge your phone, iPhone type smartphone. 1 time. You get 1 full charge. That's from the power bank. An iPod type device 2 times, and a small camera battery 2.5 times. And it takes charge time with the solar panel is 10 hours. I guess maybe not in Scotland.
Yeah,
I think you need some half decent sun, but 10 hours isn't too bad. I guess over a couple of days you'll manage to charge it up.
I mean, you're not going to be relying on it. That's the thing.
No.
This is the kind of thing you take out, and if you really need it, it's there, and it'll work. We've had some really cool things from Bushnell, actually.
Yeah, actually, Bushnell.
Like that trophy cam that we gave away a few months back now was really, really wicked.
Yeah, it was, and this is another one. So if you want to win this solar wrap, then you've got to enter the competition.
Yep.
And Daryl's just been dreaming up how you're going to enter the competition while I've been speaking this, because again, we hadn't actually decided before we started recording.
Yeah, I think that. What do you think we should do this week? We've done a picture one, so we shouldn't do that again.
I think we need to share. We need to share the podcast more.
Mm-hmm.
So on any of the social media platforms that we have, your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, when this podcast goes out, we always put the pin post at the top with information on the podcast and where you can watch or download it, share it. So we'll see who's shared it, and all the people who have shared whatever it might be, if it's a retweet or a mention on Instagram, if you want to mention us and say go listen to the podcast.
Here's one even better. I've got one even better. No, it still involves sharing it, but take a selfie while listening to the show and tag us in it. Okay. And then we will repost it, every selfie that we get.
Okay, there you go. Selfie listening to the show. So I guess you hold up your whatever you're listening to on the show that you're listening to
that us. Might be hard if they're taking a picture on their phone, but just take a selfie of you with headphones on or in the car. Or
okay.
Not while driving though.
No. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Selfie of you listening to the show. Send it to us, post us, tag us, however you want to do, just so that we know that you've done it. And then we will repost it, and everybody who does a selfie listening to the show, you will be entered in the competition to win this.
Done deal. Well, thank you very much for listening. Join us again in 2 weeks' time, and you can download this on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube. Sometimes it's delayed on YouTube because our main platform is iTunes and Stitcher. That is where 99% of you all listen from, is iTunes. So thank you very much for all the people that listen on iTunes and Stitcher, which is the Android version. SoundCloud as well. We've got some listeners increasing amount of listeners on there as well. But yeah, thank you to everyone that listens across all the platforms and the reviews. We've had a huge amount of reviews actually in the last 2 weeks or something. And we are actually one of the top reviewed countryside hunting podcasts out there amazing, right now. Next to, even if you look at like Joe Rogan's podcast, which has obviously been going around for a lot longer, it's got 900 or 1,000 reviews on it. But none of the other ones have as many as us, really.
That's good. So keep reviewing, keep messaging us, keep listening. Yeah. Don't forget that this podcast is supported and brought to you by the Scottish Association for Country Sports. If you want to keep up to date with all the information and all the happenings in the countryside world, the best place to do it is check out their Facebook page, because that's updated on a daily basis. Just search the Scottish Association for Country Sports.
And if you want to contact the show, podcast@paceproductionsuk.com. But don't worry, that is in the description, or you can find us on all the W's, thepacebrothers.com.
Yes, and just finally, because I forgot to mention it at the start, we are currently running wilderness hunts. It's an opportunity for you to come and hunt with us and experience hunting the way that we like to hunt, which for those of you who have watched our series, you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
If you haven't watched the series, just type in Into the Wilderness onto YouTube
and you'll find it. Yeah. The places are actually filling up now, and once they are full, that is it. We can only take 4 people per date. So
we're only doing one this year.
Yes, we are.
And then we'll have another one after the new year as well. So
absolutely. All the dates are on a document on our website. So as Daryl already said, thepacebrothers.com. Go on there, click the tab that says Wilderness Hunts, and all the information you need is on there. And if you have any other questions, just ping us an email.
Yep.
Thanks very much.